So the no-nos of oppositional defiance. No-no is actually a play on words, and you're going to find out why in just a minute. There's a lot of no-nos for oppositional defiance. First, what we need to do is we need to talk about the history of adolescence. When did adolescence begin? Now, you got the handouts there, so don't cheat. Just look at me. When did adolescence begin? When? When? 12. Okay, we think, okay, so you're talking age. I'm actually talking about when did it start in history? What's that? It's always been there. All right. Really? Oh, Cain and Abel? You think so? All right. Let me ask you, when did Cain and Abel become responsible for themselves? At what age did they go out and work? How about 1800? How old were they when they went to work?
Very young.
What age? 12, 13, 14? Oh, 8? Now, some of them worked on the farm from the time they could walk. But so if they left home at 12 or 13, they were a child, and then they were a adult. You guys got it? Light bulbs? Any light bulbs? Raise your hand. This is very important that you understand this. Raise your hand, seriously, if you've never really thought about that before. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's a lot of you. You actually, well, you have, if you have a 13 or 14-year-old, you have an adult biologically in your home. That's scary, isn't it? No, please tell me no. You have an adult in your home. Think about this. Before the Industrial Revolution, when did they get married? 13, 14. Shortly after a girl had her menarche, her period, oh, she's a woman. We got to find her man. Of course, in some cultures, a lot of cultures, they were arranged. When do we developmentally assert our independence? What age? Some of them too. When you talk about developmental theory, Erikson and his developmental theory, or Piaget, you talk about what age are they starting to look for their own independence and autonomy, and when do they not want to be around you? 12, 13. All right. And so back then, when you asserted your independence, we call it rebellion today, by the way. When you asserted your independence back then, Dad would say, he's a man, she's a woman. There's a door, don't let it hit you in the butt on the way out, and DCF didn't bring you back. Am I right? The sheriff didn't bring you back? No, that's it. And Dad would say, you can have that piece of property right there, and there's my plow, and you can use it when I'm done at sundown. And if you didn't work, you didn't eat. So all of a sudden, now why are these kids still home? Why can't we just kick them out? Why? You tell me. This is interactive. What's that? The government said you've got to keep those kids until they're 18. Yes? They're not. They're not ready. I mean, but why? What changed since the Industrial Revolution? Yes? What's your name?
Michelle.
Everybody say good answer, Michelle.
Good answer, Michelle.
That was a great answer. That was an awesome answer. Yes, 98.5% of America before the Industrial Revolution was farming. So guess what? You got on-the-job training from the time you could walk. So by the time you asserted your independence, you became a man, you became a woman. It wasn't frowned upon so much. It's, he's a man, he's a woman. There's a door. And they were okay. I'm ready. They looked forward to that. They were ready to be, independent, do their own thing. And then they would probably come over to the house for dinner, but it wasn't as much. There wasn't as much tension and conflict because now, see, back then you only had 2 adults in the home for the most part. I mean, you might have some family that came to live with you, or your parents may live with you, and things like that. But I'm just saying though that right now you have 2 adults, in a traditional home, 2 adults in the home, struggling to get along and to agree how to raise the kids, how to handle finances. Then you have a 13-year-old, or your daughter has her period, and all of a sudden you've got a third very immature, very young adult in your home. And all they know about it being adult is that adults told me what to do. Now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. All they know is that adults just are bosses. They just tell me what to do. You understand what I'm saying? And so then they're just going to tell you what they're going to do. And they're going to become bossy. And I'm an adult now, and you can't tell me what to do. So they're biologically an adult, but you're right, they're not ready. They're not ready. Now, guess how much, what's the percentage of agriculture today? It's around 1%, 1 point something percent. It's done a total flip. From 98.5% agriculture to only about 1 to 1.5% agriculture. So now you can't just, work at home and then just leave at 13 or 14. In fact, there are laws now. Because of the Industrial Revolution, we needed more skilled labor, didn't we? We needed more skilled labor, so then we passed laws to make kids go to school. And all of a sudden, we have people that aren't into book learning, is what they said back then. And now we say they have a reading disability, or they have ADHD. And is that really a disability?
No, but isn't it also that some children learn differently?
That's what it is. Everybody say good answer. What's your name?
Michelle.
Everybody say good answer, Michelle. Boy, the Michelles are racking up points here today. Michelle must be intelligent people. Oh yeah, you change your name? Because I'm intelligent too. All right. So then here's the other issue. The only parenting approach that there was back then was parenting a child. And then we had a few generations where teenagers had to stay home, but they were still treated like a child. And then we had some rebellion. We had some problems. And it's funny, I have people tell me, well, it worked for me. I turned out just fine. And that man really was that dad was trying to say to me is, I'm not changing the way I do things because I don't want to. And it worked for me. And so then I said to him, I said, well, how did it work for your other friends? And he just got quiet. Tell me about the other kids you grew up with. How did that work for them? I mean, look over history. Look at in the 60s what happened to the adolescent generation. You see what I'm saying? As they become more and more educated, they realize they're biologically an adult. They didn't put it in those terms, but they're being treated like a child. You do it because I told you to. Does that really work for teenagers? Right, it doesn't work. So there's got to be a paradigm shift, and so we really lost 2 or 3 generations there as far as, not a total loss, I'm just saying we lost a lot of people because we didn't make a paradigm shift. When we made them stay home as adults, we didn't come up with another way to approach them. So that's really what this is about. And a lot of this oppositional defiance is really because of how we approach things. Let's talk about that old school, the authoritarian. We just said that, right? Do it because I told you to. If you grew up in the 60s or before, the approach, what about the approach most often, most other parents use the same approach. Today, parent peer pressure contributes. How about that one? Have you seen that? Parent peer pressure? Oh, well, so-and-so's parents let them do this, and so-and-so's parents let them do that. But back in the 60s and previously, all the parents had the same values, didn't they? So now we have value shifts and no moral absolutes and all that stuff, right? So you have all these different belief systems that we're trying to embrace here in America, and that complicates things too.
But you have to treat each child individually.
Yeah, you do. You do. There's the democratic approach. Let's vote on it. Does that work? Inconsistent structure and changing boundaries. That's what breeds oppositional defiance, by the way. Mom, last time you let Johnny go after he had his chores done. Well, I had a bad day, so the answer is no. And they may not even say it that way, but that's why they say no. I had a rough day, so you're going to be miserable too, because misery loves passive, poor structure, or poor boundaries. Whatever, just lock up whenever you get home. Whatever. Let me go over some symptoms, and then we're going to talk about what to do.